So what we see is that legalization follows medicalization. That people are fed all sorts of fear-based propaganda about how dangerous these drugs are, and they don't know what to believe. But when they start hearing from somebody, oh, this helped me, when they have direct connection with a patient, they start changing their mind. Or that they know that here's a dispensary and it's not ringed by people with machine guns and it's, you know, they're killing each other every day for the money, the receipts. It's not like that.
That's the only story they hear all the time, yeah.
And that's your narcos, that's your drug dealers, you know, that it's always violent, torture, you know, horrible stuff. And you end up thinking drugs, and you attribute that to the drugs instead of to the drug policy. So the medicalization provides alternative models for people to see, like dispensaries or the coffee shops here. You know, you can understand that the violence is connected not with the drug itself, but with the criminalization of it. 2021 is when we anticipate that we'll have FDA approval, and hopefully if we get all the money we need, EMA approval here in the Netherlands, elsewhere for the prescription use of MDMA. We hope if we can raise the money for Europe that we'll have MDMA approved in 2021 or so, maybe early 2022 in both FDA and Europe. Then we have roughly 10 to 15 years of thousands of psychedelic clinics being set up all over. And these clinics eventually are going to be for people that work with ketamine, with MDMA, with psilocybin. And once you see all of those, people get comfortable and they start hearing stories of people getting better, then their attitude starts changing, and then 2035, they end prohibition, and psychedelics have what we call licensed legalization, where people could buy it with a license, but if they misbehave under the influence of psychedelics, they get punished for their misbehavior, and then they lose their license to buy the drugs. And that's the way alcohol should be. That's the way other drugs should be. I think the best example there is drunk drivers who, you know, get arrested for driving drunk, and then they lose their driver's license. But they still go into a bar, they still buy alcohol, they still kill people. So that we should make it harder for them to get.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's 2035. That's why.
2035.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
And do you think in 2035 I will be able to get a license just as a user?
Yes. I think what will happen then is you go to these clinics and you say, just like a driver's license, you got to drive in a car with somebody that can observe to see how you drive. So I think the safety way to think about this is that then you go to a clinic, paid for by tax money, because now we're selling these drugs and there's enough tax money, and you have one experience under supervision. So you know what you're getting into. Then you get this, then you have to pass a little simple written test, not so hard, and then you have a license to buy the drug on your own. And so I think you will be able to get that license. Yeah, and I think the part that I personally believe that I'm surprised that people think this is controversial, but I think it should be illegal for minors, but your parents should have an override so that they can give it to you if they want to. Because you look at the traditional societies that have integrated ayahuasca or integrated peyote, and they don't have age limits like that. I was at a Native American church peyote ceremony, and a young Navajo boy of like 9 years old was brought there by his father. And, you know, he stayed up all night. Well, there's one part where you say we're so close, but from my perspective, this is the hardest part. So even though we're so close that we never have operated at such a scale with so many new therapists, with so much at stake, and so I feel like we're so close in that we finally have the chance. We've started phase 3. We've enrolled 19 out of the 200 people that we think we're going to need, but we're already seeing certain kind of problems that are a challenge. So I don't want to celebrate too soon. So we are having some problems. I think we'll get over them. So on the one hand, it feels fantastic that we're in this position. I keep being astonished practically every day. I'm almost like in a state of perpetual astonishment. So a couple days ago, I had a meeting with 2 police chiefs in 2 cities near my hometown. We were talking about giving police officers with PTSD from their work MDMA. So in the past, I would run away from police. And here it is, like I'm surrounded by police talking to police chiefs about giving MDMA to their officers with one of the therapists who's a police psychotherapist. So people who were against MDMA 20 years ago or 30 years ago are now saying they want to get involved with MDMA research. Great. So it's this perpetual astonishment. The other part that's, I think, really hard but funny but also good is that it's kind of nice to be a rebel and say, I know the truth and I know what's right, but you just won't let me prove it. this evil system is blocking me. And then the evil system says, okay, now prove it. And then you're like, fuck, now I got to prove it. So I do think that it's exciting, but it also, I don't want to celebrate too soon because the hardest work is still ahead.